Hey guys, so been at the garage working today, and I want to start working on the exhaust manifolds for the IDI. The factory ones I can't use them because I'm not just doing naturally aspirated. I got to come up to my turbo, and if you guys have seen my turbo mount and clocking my turbo housings to get them where I want to get, they're actually mounted right on top of the back of the motor. So I need to have exhaust manifolds that come out and up to the back of the turbo. So Justin sent me a set of these. So I got these off of him. I think these are about 50 bucks a set. What he's got them for online, at least at this time anyways. That may change. And I've kind of been playing around with the saw trying to figure out what I'm going to cut as far as angles and stuff go. So I got some test pieces made, but I'll go into that here in a few minutes. So what I want to do is I want to build an exhaust manifold out of black iron pipe. So I've got, I'll break the camera off here for a second and show you what I got. So you see my other exhaust flange is bolted to the original manifold right here. And I'm doing that way when I go to weld it on there, that the manifold will help keep the flange from warping. I got it bolted down pretty tight. So I tack everything on there real good, keep it from warping, and then I can go ahead and weld everything, except for where the bolts are. Then I'll have to remove the bolts later and weld around it if they're in the way. So we got some elbows. I have an idea what I'm going to do with those 2-inch elbows. And I've got one too many of the 1.5-inch elbow. I think I got two too many. We'll see here. I got one in the other room. So I've got some 2-inch pipe and I've got some 1.5-inch pipe. And I've been playing around with the saw here on my 1-inch pipe on different angles and stuff. I've got a few test pieces made for angles. And I'll show you more about that here in a bit. But something I do want to mention is they did not give me the pipe, so they are not sponsoring this video. But you know me, I like to promote local businesses around here. So if you'll notice the shirt, it says Iron City let me read it. Pipe Supply Company. Yeah, see, I can still read that. And then yeah. So they're a local pipe company out of Jackson, and if you guys are around there, I mean, honestly, I don't know where else you buy that kind of stuff at, except for maybe local hardware stores. But as far as pipe supply, I think for miscellaneous pipe parts, they're probably about the cheapest. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe you can order offline cheaper, but I like to support local business. So check out Iron City Pipe. They got a big tool collection and all that kind of stuff. I go in there and want to spend money just looking at the tools. But yes, so I'll get on with what we're doing today. Okay, so the first thing I've done is I made a judgment call and I cut me a 15-inch piece. Just straight cut on the bandsaw, nothing fancy. This is my 2-inch pipe, so this will be like my main collector tube. And then, so the first thing I need to do is I need to weld my 90 in the end of it, because that will go to the first cylinder in the front of the engine. And I'm one of those people that like to set things up to make it easy for me to weld. So I'm going to set got my two 90-degree magnets here, and I've got it just about set, I think. I may have played with this a little bit off camera just so you guys know. But if I do that, I think I'm pretty well centered all the way around. And I'm in about as far as I'd like to be, I think. I think that will suffice there. Yeah, so now I've got my first 90 on the end of it. So now it's time to suit up, put a few tack welds on there, and move on. So now, this is where, for building an exhaust manifold, I probably get a little bit more fancy than I need to, but that's the way I roll. So, .2, that down. So now, I got this box tube over here. Use a piece of box tube, stick I'm 0.4 down. 0.4 down like that. I'm gonna call that pretty good, man. I eyeballed that all right. Fairly straight on, so now all I need to do is weld it all in place. So now I've got my 90 welded on. So now I need to lay out the other holes and where they're going to get drilled at. Yeah. The best way to do that is get it back like this right here. By the way, that is hot. I probably will end up accidentally touching it before it's over with here, so you can laugh at me when that happens. Okay, so what I've done is I've got this pipe here set up, and these pieces of pipe are all the same piece, well, same type of pipe. They're roughly about 1 1/8 inch, well, 1 16 inch. And I wanted my flange to be about 1 inch off the top of this, so they will make a good spacer. Toss that one down there. And so now I'm going to take my flange and set it up here. And so now, make sure it's kind of centered there. Now for the way I'm doing this, and you guys will see what I mean here in a little bit, that I'm actually doing this to allow myself some leeway to mess up after this is said and done. So what I'm going to do is take this and go directly straight down and make a mark there. And do the same thing there. And I'll do the same thing there. Okay, now I'm done with that. I will use these again later. Okay, so now I know between my marks is about 1 3/4 inches. So what I'm going to do is come in about 7/8 of an inch, and that's my center right there. About okay, now this is the fun part. I'm going to take my analog angle finder. I'm going to set it on here and try and hold it at 0. Well, let's make sure that's 0 first. and it is not. You guys probably can't see what I'm doing here. Let me get. So I want to try and make sure this angle finder is at 0 with that 90. So I'm going to loosen this a little bit, and I'm going to. Oh, that didn't work. I was thinking it was magnetized to it, so I was being a little forceful and it didn't help. So let's see here. Okay. So I'm going to hold it to the one side here. That is pretty daggone close. So I'm gonna tighten it down. Now it's right on the money. Perfect. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my piece of square tube on here, and I'm gonna hold it right about there at my 0 mark. Right there. And I'm going to put some pressure down. I'm going to drag that down through here, making sure that that stays as close to 0 as I can keep it. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but we'll take a look here. See the shiny line that I made right down through there? So that's my center point. I can see it a little bit better than the camera can, but there's a shiny line, kind of a scrape mark almost right there. You can see that right there at the end of my finger. So that's my center line. Okay, get back here. So now I've got my center line, and I've got my marks where they're going to go. So I get my punch, and I had a hammer over here. It's a little bit bigger than what I need, but it'll do the job. So I'm gonna get right on that line and right where my mark is, and make my center point. And like I said, the way I'm doing this leaves me a little room for error. I'm doing that on purpose because I'd rather take a few minutes to kind of clean it up and leave myself some wiggle room and make sure it's right when I'm done, and try and waste pipe and spend a bunch of time planning. I think, considering I don't know what I'm doing, I've only done this one other time before, that this is probably the best route because I can clean it up later. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so I've got this piece of pipe clamped in here. Got my little carbide drill bit. I did, just to make sure the holes are straight, put my piece on there, make sure I was at 0. I'll do that as I set up for each one of these. So I got my punch there. I got something else I got to show you. This thing's real shallow. I bought this because it's carbide. I thought, well, we'll see how well it drills. I like it, but it's shallow, so I got to make a modification about halfway through a hole. Yeah, bottomed out there. I can feel it bottom out. So now, I'll be right back. Okay, since I've already started this, I'm not that worried about setting it back up, but I will. I went over and took a big punch I got and knocked down the center of it there, where now it's weak all the way around, and that way it's more flat metal and less a piece of pipe. And now, I should be able to finish going all the way through. grabbed. Does that sometimes. There it is. So, dump my chip out. I'll drill me 2 more about like that, and then we'll set up there at the welding bench for something else. Okay, so I've got my pipe set up again. I've only got 2 of them up there, but my main goal right now is to see to the top of this flange, to the pipe there, how long a piece I need off the side. And I'm going to say that's 1 3/8. It's like a 32nd below the flange. I want to stay below the flange because I don't want it to protrude, because then my gasket sits against this. I want to have a good seal, and I don't want to have to grind on this, because if I grind on this surface, then it'll make it uneven and I won't have a good seal. So I really would rather not protrude through and do all my welding on this side, so I don't have to run a grinder around through here. So it looks like about 1 3/8 off the center of the pipe. So I'll go ahead and now we've got to cut the 1.5" pieces that are going to feed into this, the same size as this. And I also need to cut me a 1/4" sliver to weld onto this right here to make it just a little bit taller. That way they're all level. So now we'll go over to the bandsaw, and I'll show you how I'm going to notch and make these 3 pieces. Okay, for the old bandsaw here, and I know 2B notcher would be nice. I don't have one of those. This old bandsaw's seen better days, but we've had it for a long time and it keeps getting the job done. So I'm going to loosen this bolt right here. And I had me, hold on just a second. My persuasion device. I'm just going to tap it right about there. Okay. And then I'm going to tighten it back down. So what I done was I moved this to where it's at a 22-degree angle. That's what I was afraid of. I got to reach underneath there. Okay, so about a 24-degree angle. I'll back this off, get my pipe in there. Okay. Now, when my blade comes down, what I want to do is I want to, this piece of pipe is about 2 inches wide, so I want to make sure the edge of my cut is about 15/16, which we're right there. I'll lift this and set the blade back down just to double check. I'll pull it back just a fuzz. That's about right there. I'll go ahead and crank this in. And I'll lift up and set back down, see if my blade moved any. It flexes, so it helps if you're measuring to your blade to pick up and set back down, because if you move that, it actually can flex the blade in or out from where that's at. I'll pull this guide back just a bit. Okay, it should be clear. So now, I'm going to take the camera off and show you guys what I've done before I start sawing. That way you see it. Okay, so right here, underneath here, I might have to turn the light on. You see, it's about half worn out, but there's an angle gauge right there, and I've got it set at about 24. I don't know if you guys can see that right in there, but it's about 24 degrees is where I've got it set it. And then right here, get my tape measure out. if you see, coming off the side there, I'll look straight down on it, I am about 15/16 to where the blade engages the pipe. So that's about what I want. So now, that's because my pipe is roughly, it's almost 2 inches wide, is how wide the pipe is, and that's why I went for 15/16. If you had a wider piece of pipe or a narrower piece of pipe, that measurement would change. And if you was taking this pipe to the same size pipe, this angle back here would change. Because I'm going 1.5 to 2 inch, this is the angle I've chose. I'll turn it on. Kind of help it get started so it doesn't deflect the blade any over the end of the pipe. Actually, I may want to, I can run that up there without touching it. There we go. Okay, there's my first piece. So now, I'm going to loosen it. I'm going to roll it 180 degrees. I'll measure off the back plate there to my edges to make sure that it's even. I mean, it's all on how precise you want to be, and I'm a little picky sometimes. Ask Kegan. So then I'll come down, and same thing. I'm going to try and make sure that which I need to come up some. Try and make sure that I'm right about 15/16 or 7/8 or somewhere close to that, and that's pretty close right there. So I'm going to tighten that down. I'm going to lift and set back just to make sure I'm right. Okay. Lift. Put this all on. Do its thing. Okay, so now, because I got to go through moving this to straighten the saw back up to cut it straight off again, I'm gonna go ahead and flip this thing over. Make the exact same cuts on the other side. They don't have to line them, we'll cut them off anyways. But that way it saves me from having to move this backing plate several times to get myself a few extra pieces. So I'll go ahead and cut the end of this, and then I'll cut it, I'll show you my measurement on how I'm going to cut it from here back to get my length like we talked before. Okay, so it's raining now. That's always nice. And so I've got this back to the correct 90-degree angle now to this, so we're straight. I use my speed square to check it, tighten everything back down. And now I'm going to go for 1 3/8 to the inside of the bevel there, because remember off the pipe we're 1 3/8 is what I was looking for to the back of my flange. And so I've got that measurement from the blade to there, and I've already lifted and set the blade back and checked a couple times to make sure I'm right. So now we're going to cut this one off. Okay, so now I've got all my pieces made. I took a grinder to them just to get to fit just a little bit better. And then I made me a little 1/4 inch piece there. And I'll show you guys what's going on here. I got a visitor, sounds like. If you look down in there, that was 1 3/8 hole, and it could have been 1.5 inches. See if I can get that off there. There we go. But I've got a nose grinder, and I'm going to clean that out. So I'll go ahead and weld all that up and clean that out, kind of show you the finished product. So now I've actually got about 1 inch of clearance here, and I've put my piece of pipe right back here, give me about 1 1/8 inch, so it kind of runs out a little bit, just by 1/8 of an inch at the very end, and I kind of like that. So I've got my flange bolted to the old exhaust manifold to kind of keep it from warping as I weld. So I'm going to kind of get this thing lined up. I'll tack these in place a couple places just to make sure I'm happy with it. And then I'm going to burn on each side, and then I'll take the bolts out later and get in there. And I may have to take something and grind out to make sure I'm out of the way of my other bolts, or my other nuts when I go to put them on. But I'll go ahead and get this welded up. Well, I've welded that one up on high. It's got that flange a little thicker, and I want to make sure all that stuck together real good. Here's my other one, and show you guys real quick. Let me turn that light on. Even though I've got it fully welded, notice on the inside, I'm trying to get, there you go, I've got a rim around there I got to clean up. I done that so if I was off one way or the other with that flange, that I wasn't missing the hole. A little extra work on my part at the end, but got this old school nose grinder here. That'll make short work of that whenever I get that to that done. And but I'm gonna leave this sit here tonight. I'm gonna call this job done. I'm gonna weld that one on tomorrow because that's hot right now and I don't want to cool it down with water. I just want to leave it sit there. So later on, I'm gonna bolt these to the engine. I'll figure out where to cut back here and where to add my 90 going up to the turbo, and we'll work on that when we're doing the other up pipe stuff. So yeah, that's coming. So if you guys haven't yet, hit that subscribe button down there. Give us a like, throw a comment below, because I guess YouTube algorithm likes comments. You can tell me how ugly my welds are if you want. As long as they hold, I don't care how ugly they are. But thank you guys for watching, and see you later.